So we are now going to put a bookmark in the components of the alimentary canal and make a transition into the accessory structures of the digestive system. The three accessory organs that we are going to discuss are the pancreas, the liver, and the gallbladder. The pancreas is in fact my favorite organ of all. This is not the first time that we are discussing this organ. We also discussed the pancreas when covering the endocrine system. The pancreas can be found behind the stomach, and it will contain this long pancreatic duct which will directly dump its digestive enzymes into the duodenum of the small intestine. I appreciate the pancreas as much as I do because this organ has both an endocrine function and an exocrine function. We saw the function of the pancreas in the endocrine system was to release insulin and glucagon that help regulate our blood glucose levels. But as we are covering the digestive system, we are not going to hash out the endocrine function of the pancreas again. We want to focus primarily on the pancreas's exocrine function, which is to produce and release digestive enzymes into the small intestine. The pancreas produces all types of digestive enzymes that will be useful for breaking down all four of our macromolecules: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, as well as nucleic acids will all be affected by pancreatic enzymes. We previously discussed that amylase breaks down carbohydrates, and lipase breaks down fats. Proteases are digestive enzymes that will break down proteins, and as I'm sure you can imagine, nucleases are going to break down nucleic acids. One other product that the pancreas produces is bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is one of the major components in the bicarbonate carbonic acid buffer system. We would have seen a little bit about this buffer system in Anatomy and Physiology 1, and also when covering the respiratory system as well. Pancreatic bicarbonate secretions will be used to neutralize the pH of the acidic chyme that's coming from the stomach. You can see that the pancreas is shown right here, and it has this very large pancreatic duct that's going to dump into the first part of the small intestine. This here is the duodenum. You can see the mucosal folds in here, which will break down very, very shortly. But it is thanks to the digestive enzymes of the pancreas that digestion inside of the small intestine will significantly accelerate. Now over on this picture you can see a histological section of the tissue of the pancreas. You have the islets of Langerhans, which is the endocrine portion of the pancreas, and all of this other darker pink part of the pancreas is our exocrine portion. And you can see the duct right here, which will receive those secretions and eventually dump out into the small intestine. We can see a list of the pancreatic enzymes shown on this slide. I know that there's quite a bit of information on this slide, but I do promise that this will be one of the easiest slides that I'm going to give you in this presentation. You can see here in the left-hand column the name of many different digestive enzymes that are produced by the pancreas. While each of these enzymes has a unique name, the name of the enzyme will be a giveaway for what the enzyme's substrate is. We will start here with pancreatic amylase. We know good and well that amylase is the enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates. We had salivary amylase, found in the saliva, that starts carbohydrate catabolism the moment that food is ingested. Pancreatic amylase will do exactly the same thing, however, as its name indicates, it comes from the pancreas instead of in the mouth. Pancreatic amylase will work on starches, which are large polysaccharides, to break them down into much smaller carbohydrates. We also have trypsin and chymotrypsin, which will likely be the most challenging to remember, as their names do not fully give away the function of these enzymes. Both trypsin and chymotrypsin will work on proteins to break them down into smaller amino acid chains. Working with trypsin and chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase will additionally work on peptides to produce smaller peptides. Pancreatic lipase will be in the same family as lingual lipase and gastric lipase. This enzyme substrate is triglycerides. The last of our pancreatic digestive enzymes includes the two catalysts that act on nucleic acids. Ribonuclease will break down RNA, and deoxyribonuclease will break down DNA. I noted that these enzymes should be fairly simple to learn, as each of their names indicates what each substrate will work on. Their sources are all the same, and their products can be deduced by knowing what their substrates are. So we want to keep in mind that amylase is going to break down carbohydrates, lipase is going to break down fats, nuclease is going to break down our nucleic acids. And judging by the name of these pancreatic enzymes, we can make some deductions about what the substrates are, and from there we can make the determination about what the products are. Of course, these products need to be smaller components of what these substrates were. So again, aside from trypsin and chymotrypsin, most of these enzymes should be a dead giveaway about what their substrates are and what their products are going to be. Pathologies related to the pancreas include pancreatitis and pancreatic cancer. You can see that there are quite a few symptoms to indicate pancreatic cancer, and pancreatitis refers to the inflammation of the pancreas. So when we look at all of our accessory structures together, we see this arrangement. You have the liver shown right here, you've got the pancreas, which we've just discussed right here, and you have the gallbladder, which can be found under the liver. In fact, the pancreas, the liver, and the gallbladder are all going to release certain secretions that will dump into the small intestine. And also, in fact, you can see that this duct system found through the liver and the pancreas, as well as the gallbladder, are all going to dump into the small intestine in exactly the same place. We call this little location here the hepatopancreatic ampulla. Or, for those of you that are Star Wars fans, you can call this the ampulla of Vader. We've zoomed in here to the hepatopancreatic ampulla at this location so that you can see the secretions from the liver and the gallbladder will come down this location, and then the secretions from the pancreas will come over here, and they'll leak into the duodenum through this hepatopancreatic ampulla. There is a tiny sphincter here, known as the sphincter of Oddi, that's going to regulate how much of these substances will leak into the duodenum. We will discuss the role of the liver as well as the gallbladder, but we're first going to talk about the duct system that can be found channeling digestive enzymes from these accessory structures. So the one thing that we need to know about the liver before we talk about this duct system is that the liver produces a substance known as bile. Bile is going to be very useful for breaking down fats. Now the gallbladder is also going to deal with bile. However, the gallbladder only stores bile. It does not produce it. So the liver produces bile, the gallbladder only stores bile. It is only a storage site for excess bile so that we can release bile through the cystic duct whenever we need to. So let's go ahead and take a look at this duct system and see how bile makes its way down to the hepatopancreatic ampulla. First and foremost, you'll see that we have a right hepatic duct and a left hepatic duct, which are both found in the liver. Your right hepatic duct is found here, and your left hepatic duct is found here. These two hepatic ducts will meet to form what's known as the common hepatic duct that's coming out from the liver. We call this the right hepatic duct, of course, because it's from the right side of the liver. This is our left hepatic duct because it's coming from the left side of the liver. And then those will meet together to form the singular duct that comes out of the liver, hence why we call it the common hepatic duct. This will then meet with what is known as the cystic duct, which was coming out from our gallbladder. The gallbladder is going to project that little cystic duct out, and whenever it meets the common hepatic duct, we're going to have the common bile duct. And this transition of names makes a lot of sense, because this is going to be our hepatic duct from the liver, while this is going to be our cystic duct from the gallbladder. But once they come together, we have the singular duct that collects bile from both the gallbladder and the liver. So that's why we call this our common bile duct. Now from here, substances will actually be able to go up into the gallbladder because again, the liver is producing bile and the gallbladder is going to store it. So bile can actually move in two different directions right here. So through the common bile duct, we're eventually going to meet up with the pancreatic duct, also known as the main pancreatic duct that's found here in the pancreas. Those are going to come together at the hepatopancreatic ampulla and then dump their secretory products into the small intestine. You'll see that the liver is tucked up here under the diaphragm, and each of these organs have their own individual parts. But from this slide, we want to focus on the functions of the liver, the functions of the gallbladder, and also the duct system that allows for bile and pancreatic digestive enzyme secretion into the small intestine. So as I've mentioned, the liver is the organ that produces and makes bile. The liver can be arranged into its functional units known as liver lobules. Liver lobules are these hexagonal-shaped structures that are filled with the liver sinusoids. We discussed the liver in terms of the hepatic portal circulation, and considered its role for the absorption of nutrients from the digestive system. The primary liver cell is known as the hepatocyte. Hepato is the prefix that means liver, so that's going to be liver cells. The hepatocytes are actually the cells that do produce bile, and they're also going to take up glucose from our bloodstream and convert it into glycogen, which is our primary storage polysaccharide. You can see in this picture the hepatocytes are going to be sitting right next to the liver sinusoid so that they can access the bloodstream. These liver cells will have a very, very large concentration of smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which is the specific organelle that our cells use to detoxify drugs and poisons. As the liver is the main organ that's going to do this for the body, we're going to have more smooth endoplasmic reticulum to facilitate the functions of this organ. Now, the hepatocytes are the primary cell we find in the liver, but we also have the Kupfner cells, which are just liver macrophages. They're simply the macrophages of the liver. So they're going to act just as macrophages do, but they're going to be found in this organ. They're going to go around and manage other cells and debris that can be found in this organ, protecting this organ and making sure that any potential threats are subdued. So as we've already discussed, the liver and the gallbladder will both secrete into the common bile duct, which will leak out into the small intestine. And you can actually see here that we're looking in the small intestine, and this is where the hepatopancreatic ampulla can be seen. When no substances are in the small intestine, the hepatopancreatic ampulla will be closed and not allowing secretions to enter into the small intestine. But as soon as chyme from the stomach makes its way in, this sphincter is going to open up, and that's going to kick off the intestinal phase of digestion. One of these intestinal hormones that will facilitate the intestinal phase of digestion is known as cholecystokinin, also abbreviated as CCK. This hormone is going to have a couple actions which we can see right here. First and foremost, it's going to relax the hepatopancreatic sphincter so that bile and other pancreatic digestive enzymes can enter into the small intestine. We'll also see that there will be some contraction of the muscles around the gallbladder, and that's going to push bile from the gallbladder out into the intestines. At the same time, the pancreas is also going to be stimulated to release its digestive enzymes to further digest the chyme that's entering from the stomach. So to summarize the role of the liver and the gallbladder in the digestive system, we can see the functions of these organs listed on this slide. The liver is going to play a very, very big role in metabolizing carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. As the liver receives nutrient-rich blood from the digestive organs, this is where we're going to offload those macromolecules so that we can break them down and use them for energy. We will also note that the liver produces bile, and we're also going to find lots of smooth endoplasmic reticulum in our hepatocytes that will be used to detoxify drugs and poisons. The Kupfner cells inside of the liver will be responsible for phagocytosis, and we're also going to see that vitamin D will be activated to increase calcium absorption with the liver also. The gallbladder, on the other hand, is going to have its primary role as storing bile, and it will release that bile when substances make their way into the small intestine. The gallbladder is a storage organ for bile. Our homeostatic imbalances that relate the liver are liver cirrhosis and hepatitis. Liver cirrhosis is one step past liver fibrosis, and you can see that a healthy liver here is very, very smooth, while liver cirrhosis is not looking so good. Liver cirrhosis is often caused by alcoholism, or perhaps chronic inflammation of the liver. If the liver tissue has to work extra hard, the cells inside of the liver can be susceptible to breaking down. If the hepatocytes in the liver are dying off, that's going to lead to scar tissue formation, and the activities of the liver will be suppressed. Liver cirrhosis is an irreversible phenomenon, so it's very important that we do take care of this organ. Hepatitis, on the other hand, is inflammation of the liver, and this is often caused by our hepatitis A virus, hepatitis E virus, hepatitis B virus, and hepatitis C virus. Certain types of our hepatitis viruses are easier to treat than others, but hepatitis can also be caused by drug toxicity and other poisons that have made their way into the body. If the liver is overwhelmed by poison, this can lead to inflammation of this organ. Two other homeostatic imbalances that we see are gallstones that are related to the gallbladder and jaundice. Gallstones are caused by a diet that is too high in cholesterol or too little in bile salts. When bile in the gallbladder sits there for too long, it can solidify, leading to gallstones. The sharp crystalline structure of gallstones can cause pain, as the gallbladder is going to be contracting and squeezing on those sharp crystals. Obesity and diabetes are risk factors for gallstones. These can be treated surgically, but lasers and ultrasound can also be used to deal with gallstones. Jaundice is another condition that's related to problems with the liver and the gallbladder. Jaundice refers to a yellowish color of the skin that is typically caused by a buildup of the pigment bilirubin. This pigment comes from the liver. Hepatitis and malaria, as well as gallstones, can all be things that will lead to jaundice.